Alright, welcome back to another live market updates for the swing trading strategy. It's been about 2 weeks since my last stream, so let's get into it. We're just going to skip over the news now. As important as news is, and at some point we'll start to play a bigger role again, I'm sure at some point, I'd more or less just ignore it. So because I'm trading daily strategies and news, although news and economic effects impact like long-term trends, I'm not really utilizing it in any capacity, so we're just going to skip the news. But if you are day trading and doing shorter time schemes, I would highly recommend looking at the news before you start your trading day to see what major economic releases are happening. Okay, just to quickly go over the strategy, we are on the daily time frame. Yes, each one of these candles is a day. We have linear regression lines, two linear regression lines, one for 100 period moving average, one for 200 period moving average. So the long one is 200, the short one is 100, and then we have an SSL channel, which is more or less a modified moving average. If price is trending in a certain direction and the two linear regression lines agree, then if price touches the congruent linear regression line, so if they're both pointing down and it touches at the top and price starts to come back down and swaps on the SSL, that would be a sell. So this is a sell. If price does not touch and swaps on the SSL, such as like right here, then it is not a buy or a sell. And just again, didn't touch anywhere here on the SSL, but swapped, this is not a sell. If price is incongruent, which means it goes against the SSL channel, it has to touch both lines. Whereas if it is congruent, it means it goes in the same direction as the linear regression lines, then it only has to touch one line. I'll show you what I mean, but let's just review all of the trades this week. So this is an AUDCAD trade from a while ago that hit take profit. Yes, I use pretty much a 1-to-1 take profit stop loss. That's just the way I like to trade. AUDCHF, here we go. This is currently a winning position. Price had touched both the 100 and 200 linear regression lines, had swapped on the SSL, and it is now down. Remember, this is also on the daily time frame, so this got entered on October 3rd, roughly, give or take. So this is one of the positions we are currently in. This position, we are not currently in this position. The specificity of why we are not in this current position was because price was close to topping or swapping on the SSL, but ended up having a big negative day. So we ended up not getting into it, because if we did get into it, the swap would have actually occurred at the end of the day down here, and we would have had to have made this sort of move right here. You can see if price does go to the bottom of this range, then this trade would have been profitable, but I would rather usually when you have a big move like this, you have a bit of retracement. So I was expecting a retracement for price to come back up here and then get into a trade that was more appropriately sized. So this is technically part of the strategy, but it was not an entry that I got into. AUDJPY. This is a buy back from August 1st. Yes, I've been in this trade since August 1st. It has had its ups, it has had its downs. It is currently in the negative. That is fine with me. Price had touched both SSLs. You can see this was trending up, and then it had a swap up here, and so we had gotten into the trade. AUDNZD, no trades, not in the last little while. AUDUSD, no trades, not in the last little while. Price has not gone and touched either of the linear regression lines. CADJPY, this is a trade we are also currently in. Price came pretty close to hitting profit, but it hadn't quite yet. So we are in this trade still as well. This trade is from August 1st, so it's been over 2 months. CADCHF, so this is an additional trade. So price had come here. If we look here, price had, so both linear regression lines are positive, like they're positive correlate or positive slopes. Price had hit the 100, had come across here, forward, had swapped on the SSL, and so what does that mean? That means that's a buy, so we ended up getting a buy with a stop loss placed at the bottom. And then if we continue to real time, price had just kind of continued on. Hold on a second. There we go. And then what had happened here was price had come down again, had hit both the 100 and 200 and swapped again, so we added a second position. And I've done that quite frequently with quite a few pairs. So CHF-JPY in 2 positions right now, both in profit. EURO-AUD in 1 position in slight profit. Again, touched both of the linear regression lines, swapped on the SSL. EUROCAD in slight profit. We are just monitoring here. EUROCHF, so we had a stop loss hit back in August, and we had a profit hit here in October. EURGBP, slight loss. We had a loss back in, well, I guess the loss actually took place in September, but an entry back in July. Hit our loss, and now we're re-entered here, and we're in a slight loss. EUROJPY, this is also one of our double trades. So on both of them, it looks like we're slightly negative. Maybe on the first trade, we're slightly positive. That's fine. We're still just holding out. EURNZD, got into this trade yesterday, so took a trade on it in August that ended up hitting profit, taking another trade now, and we are in slight profit for it. EURUSD, we are in the negative for this trade. GBPAUD, we are in slight profits. GCAD, that was a trade recently that hit profit after 4 days, so not quite typical. Most trades take about a week or more to hit profit. This one hit it very quickly. That was kind of nice. GBPCHF, this one hit this trade back in August, hit stop loss pretty quick, but otherwise it's been pretty unremarkable. It's just more or less gone sideways. GJ, another of the yen pairs that we have multiple positions in. GBPNZD, another pair that we are trading. So a lot of these pairs are very highly correlated. So for example, GBPNZD, EUROAUD, GBPAUD, they're all correlated pairs. So chances are if one of them hits profit, they all will hit profit. GU, similarly in negative. So it's a bit redundant what I'm doing. I do attest to that. It is pretty redundant getting into similar, very correlated markets. And at some point I might start to specifically trade with increased leverage on a single market instead of spreading out my risks across multiple markets, but it's just the way I trade right now. Still figure out this strategy. I've been only using this strategy for probably a collective 6 months, something like that. I tried it a couple years ago to some good success. Unfortunately muddied that success with a different strategy that did not work out so well. And now I'm restarting this trading strategy. NZDCAD, this looks like it could be a good entry today. So honestly, again, the SSL swap is about right here. So the fact that it had this huge red day below the SSL swap makes me want to do similarly to the CADCHF and put in a limit order up here so that I have an order that looks something like this instead of something like this. Yeah, that's just a bit too aggressive. That's just the stops and the take profits are a bit too large. So I'd rather put in a limit order for price to retrace, hit my entry, and then have it come back down. If that works out that way, it might not. Okay, NZDJ, again, pretty similarly. This guy's slightly negative, and no trade, USDCAD. Unfortunately, this was a loss, and this trade wasn't taken. I wasn't paying enough attention to all of my currency pairs that I follow, and I never actually took this trade, which is unfortunate because it was a winning trade. It would have been a winning trade. Right now there's no entry, no signal for entry. Price here would have had to have touched both linear regression lines for this rejection to come down. So actually when price was down here, there might have been an entry opportunity had price had a red day here instead, but because of that we're trying to adhere very strictly to the strategy. USDCHF, Yep, in this trade, slightly positive. Nothing for USDJPY. Is having an incredibly nice run. And then we are in US 30, we are in NASDAQ, and we are in the S&P 500. So we're in each of those. They had all hit stop loss in the previous trade. So US 30 had this rejection back in August, took some profit off of that, was trying to play the rebound here, ended up hitting stop loss, and now we're in here again. Similar with NASDAQ. Hit stop loss, we are in this trade again, and S&P 500 hit stop loss, we are in this trade again, and gold had a nice rejection here, and then we got in on the SSL swap as price came back up, and it's had its huge day today, up over $40. So that was our winner for this morning, was this gold trade. Quite nice. And that's sort of it. Eventually I will be doing a video about the strategy, going into more depth about linear regression, standard deviations, just basic statistic stuff that you don't necessarily need to understand to get the strategy, but it'll be nice to explain the strategy a bit more. Anywho, that's it for today. Yeah, the only good opportunity that I see is NZDCAD. So there will be a trade here by the end of the day for sure, and whether it's a limit order or a market order remains to be seen. Probably a market order. If price retraces a fair amount and still swaps, but still remains swapped on the SSL, then that's a bit, I'd consider that a market order. If price stays the way it has been right now, which it typically will because it's a Friday afternoons are pretty dead, then I will put in a limit order and I will place it at the top of the candle, and then with a stop above the high and a take profit of about 1 to 1. Okay, that's it. Cheers. Thanks for checking out the video.